Today's watch is one of those watches that can easily be mistaken for a watch that costs in the tens of thousands of dollars. It's a reverse panda chronograph. It gets a Swiss-made hand-wound movement inside, and it's still affordable. I have one hands-on. It's from the brand HTD. So let's flip the camera and take a look. I was having this conversation just the other day. There's something about a simple, straightforward, well laid out chronograph that is just attractive. It's one of my favorite styles of watch. I love dive watches, but I really love a chronograph. And this is just a really well executed chronograph. It's very symmetrical. So you have these white subdials, a tobacco brown dial, but it's a very deep tobacco. It comes off as black in most lighting. When you get up close and you see it in certain light, it comes off as a brown, but a very deep brown color. This is from the brand HTD. They call this the Hessograph. This is the variant B, H25F33B. And it is a hand-wound chronograph. It gets a Swiss movement. This is the Sellita SW510 that's powering this watch. You have a matte finish dial. You have these sunken sub-registers. All of the indices are applied. You have fence post hands, and you have that running chronograph hand. That running chronograph hand, I believe, gets a little bit of lume on it, so there is lume on this dial. We'll do a lume shot towards the end. You get these beautiful, long, straight lugs that are cut off, as you can see. They're very, very long, and there's just a little abrupt cutoff to them. So this does have a pretty long lug to lug, but it wears beautifully on my 7.5 inch wrist. You have a very boxed sapphire crystal. It is slightly domed, very vintage looking, and then you have a polished bezel. So it's a faceted bezel. There's really three sides to it. All three sides are polished. The side of the watch is polished, and the top of the watch is polished. So essentially, the entire case is polished. The bracelet is brushed. It's basically brushed on the top, and then you have polishing that goes all the way down the sides of the bracelet, and then you have a clasp that has polishing on either side. It is signed with the HTD logo. This is just a really good looking, very classically designed chronograph. And like I was saying, there's just something about that I think a lot of collectors find attractive. That's why the Daytona is so popular. And this gives you some Daytona vibes, maybe vintage Speedmaster vibes as well. I think that's all intentional. Obviously, definitely taking inspiration from those watches. I think most chronographs take some inspiration from those watches at some point. This is technically a racing chronograph. I think that's what they're going for, and I think they've executed it really well. You have pushers. They're not screw down pushers. You don't have a screw down crown. You get 50 meters of water resistance. The case size on here is 38.8 millimeters. That's what I measured. And then you have almost a 48 millimeter lug to lug. So it is a pretty long lug to lug. It's just under 48 millimeters, somewhere around the 47.8 millimeter range, somewhere in that range. And then you have a 12.3 millimeter thickness. That's including the boxed sapphire crystal, which again looks very, very vintage. The bracelet on here is a very solid bracelet. You have solid links, screwed links, solid end links, and obviously a milled clasp. The only thing I would say is that there is no on-the-fly micro adjust. You only have 4 positions of manual micro adjust. So I would like to see a little bit more on-the-fly micro adjust. Unfortunately, they didn't put any on-the-fly micro adjust clasp on here. I think that would be a very, very welcome upgrade. And a watch like this, I think, deserves it. This watch definitely should have some on-the-fly micro adjust. On my wrist today, I have a very beautiful watch. This is Perle. This is a sand dial. However, it's not like a sand texture. I really like what they did with this watch. It's a very interesting looking watch, and the dial is very dynamic. I'm going to be releasing a video about this pretty soon. Definitely stay tuned. And there is the HTD on my 7.5 inch wrist, and you can see it's sized up for my wrist, and it looks so good. The lug to lug is long. You have this case that is somewhat slab sided, and you have these very long lugs. So for very small wrists, this might be a problem, but For my 7.5-inch wrist, this wears very, very well. And again, this is around almost a 39 millimeter watch. I measured 38.9 or 38.8 millimeters, a just over 12 millimeter thickness and just under 48 millimeter lug to lug, 52 millimeters lug to lug if you include the bracelet. But like I said, for my wrist, that doesn't really make a difference. Well, there you go. Lume decently applied here. Not a lot of lume on the dial, but there is lume on all the hands. And of course, you can see that your watch is working in the dark because you do have lume on that running chronograph hand. So decently applied for a dressy chronograph. I think this is not that bad. Price on this is $1,792. I think that is a very good price considering what you are getting and how good looking this watch is. You are getting a Sellita SW510, which is a pretty high grade movement from Sellita based on the Valjoux 7750, a workhorse movement, a great chronograph. Of course, this is a hand wound version made by Sellita. So a really nice movement inside here. It's thin because it is hand wound. So a chronograph with a box sapphire crystal around 12 millimeters thick, that is excellent. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you think of this watch. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. I'll put a link to this watch down in the description below. Definitely check it out if you are interested. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. Thank you for watching this video. I will catch you guys in the next video.